Good evening. Good evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us this evening. We are here. We're a little bit behind schedule, but thanks be to God, we are still here. So we want to welcome you on behalf of Purpose Journey Counseling LLC Reloaded for 2023. I want to say good evening to you, to those of you who are catching us live. Or if you catch this later in the day, later in the week, later in the month, or even later in the year, we are grateful that you are tuning in for our podcast. And we've got some fun stuff, some interesting conversation in store this evening. But before we go any further, on behalf of Purpose Journey Counseling, my name is Dr. Ntatu North, and I am the owner and therapist of Purpose Journey Counseling LLC, which is located in Cincinnati, Ohio. So again, welcome. It is about 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday, August 13th, 2023, and we are live. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, and X, formerly known as Twitter, and the YouTube link is currently being posted on Instagram. So we ask that you take just a few moments to please like the broadcast, please like our pages on your preferred platform. Also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. I want to take just a moment to talk about the YouTube channel. Please just subscribe to it. Even if you don't watch us on YouTube, it's okay. You can watch us on whatever platform you prefer. But we do ask that you please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and that YouTube channel is Purpose Journey Counseling. That's all it is. So if you can take a few moments just to do that this evening. And also let us know you're here in the comment section. One of the great things about being live is that we can interact with each other. And this is better even when we're able to interact, when you can post respectful but engaging comments in the comment section while we're live this evening in our discussions. If you have questions, if you have comments, things like that, like we said, as long as it's just respectful, that is fine. But we invite you to engage with us on this evening. And then also tag at least 7 people that you know that follow you on social media. Just tag them this evening. This is for men and women and even teens. We did say last week we're keeping it PG-12. We're keeping it PG-12 again this week. So even some teens, invite them to just join us on this evening. They can sit with you. They can join. You can write some things down, take some notes, ask some questions. You can even write in the comments section. But again, let us know you're here, and we'll definitely shout you out. Good evening, Mother. I know you were waiting for us at 7, but we are here now. So good evening, Mom. Want to say good evening to you. Good evening to you as well. And good evening to you as well. So thank you again so much for joining us. As everyone's coming on, keep on tagging people in the comments section. We have a few moments here, and we definitely want to take the time to do it. This is going to be a very great conversation this evening. I'm claiming that. I just know it is going to be. So you don't want to just get it for yourself. You want to share it with someone else. We don't want to just sit on good information and not share it. But as you're sharing, I do want to share a couple of important numbers with you all. We share this every time that we are together, and it's very important that we have these. If you do not have these numbers stored in your cellular devices, please make sure you save them. Take the time to save them. You never know when they might save your life or someone else's life. And the first number is the number for the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. That number is 1-800-273-8255. Again, that's 1-800-273-8255. This number is 24/7. Lock it in. Like I said, it could save your life. It could save someone else's life. The other number is for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. That number is 988. Again, it's 988. This number is 24/7 also, and you can text this number. So there are resources that are readily available. We just want to make sure that we know the tools. We have those numbers available. So please, if you have not already, make sure that you save those numbers in your phone so that you can share that information as if ever needed, or you may have it readily available for yourself as well. So we're still coming on. Please still continue to let us know you're in the comment section, and also continue to tag people in the comment section to join with us on this evening. Just a couple of things before we get started. I always like to share this for any of you who are joining us for the very first time. Again, welcome. We do want to welcome you. If you're asking what is Purpose Journey Counseling LLC, it is a private practice that offers mental health services in Cincinnati, Ohio. We do provide telehealth services as well. So we have in-person as well as telehealth services. We do individuals, couples, families, all that type of therapy. And it's just been very rewarding. It's me and actually have another therapist on staff right now as well. So we do service children, adolescents, adults, every population. So please, 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 if you don't have this information, you want to look us up, you can Google us, but we're on Psychology Today as well, if you want to have that information. Our other tag that we like to just throw out there is that it's okay to have Jesus and a therapist. So this is our monthly podcast, which is called Hashtag from a Christian, Hashtag from a Therapist. So I tell everybody this all the time. Yes, I'm a therapist, but I'm a Christian first. I'm definitely a Christian first. And even when my clients, if they don't believe in God, they're not a Christian, whatever the case may be, I'm still using those principles throughout the services and interventions that I provide. So we do both, but it is okay to have both. And I would actually honestly say a lot of us need both. I know we all need Jesus. A lot of us need a therapist too. So just want to put that plug out there. So again, this is Hashtag from a Christian, Hashtag from a Therapist with Dr. Ntatu. This is our 14th episode. Praise God, our 14th episode. And this is Battle of the Sex. This is actually part 2. If you didn't catch us last week, you need to go back. It's posted. Watch last week too. But this is part 2 of Battle of the Sexes. So this evening we have a panel of some wonderful women of God and some wonderful men of God who are going to be talking about different things. They don't even know what they're going to be talking about. They don't know. They're about to find out though. And it's going to be some awesome discussion on this evening. So I want you all just to get ready to welcome them, and good evening to you as well. And we're getting ready to welcome them on this evening, but we are going to be talking about some very important topics and getting kind of like that female perspective as well as that male perspective. It's interesting to look at things from both sides. It's not about choosing a side all the time. You know, last week what we found is that even on some of the things we had different opinions on or different viewpoints on, there was still a lot of common ground. And being able to respect someone's opinion when it's different than yours, that's powerful as well. So we are going to get ready to welcome our guests. I know one of them is having some technical difficulties right now, but we already claim it. She's going to get on. She's going to get on in the name of Jesus. So I'm going to bring everyone on who is on. So I hope your camera ready. So bring you on right now. Good evening, beautiful people. So I want to welcome you all back again this week. And I know, I don't want to call them out, but I know one person, the technical difficulties are something. Technology is great, but technology be tripping sometimes. So we're grateful that we have someone who was going to be on last week, was in kind of the same boat as the person this week. But we're claiming it's going to get shut down. It's going to get shut down. It's all going to work. So I want to give you all an opportunity to introduce yourselves. So no particular order, but you can introduce yourselves in the way you so choose. PG-12. Thank you. Make sure you're not muted. Make sure you're not muted because I can't unmute you if you're muted.
Kia, you muted.
I know. I was waiting for everybody to go first, but thank you for introducing me. I'm Kia. Nice to see everybody again. Looking forward to our convo tonight.
My name is Q Montgomery, a.k.a. the Altar Mommy Queen, a.k.a. Pastor Q. I'm just like, I'm Q Montgomery, man. I'm happy to be here tonight.
Keisha here. Happy to be here.
My name is Lamar North, aka the sex symbol of Cincinnati. What's good? Yeah.
That kind of night I see. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
What's wrong with you? Oh my goodness. Had to be Lamar.
Right.
Always Lamar.
David.
You started it.
I'm David. I'm kin and family to all of the crazy folks that are on this podcast tonight.
Well, yes, I want to welcome all of you. This is definitely my family, and this is what we do. This is what we do. So I want to welcome you all this evening. Thanks again for coming on I know it's been a busy day, but I appreciate y'all. I'm saying that publicly. So we're going to get started with, of course, an icebreaker. It's not going to be that challenging, not that deep. What is the first concert you ever went to? First concert. Mine was TLC. I remember that at Kings Island. I remember that.
I think my first concert was, ooh, I think I was little. I think it was either Stephanie Mills, my either my mom and my sister or my cousins. It was probably either down at the Coliseum or like Black Family Reunion or something like that.
I done been to so many concerts, I can't even remember. I think oh my god, maybe Erica Badu, maybe. Like my first, like, oh my god, it was years and years ago. I'm gonna say Erica Badu, maybe. That, I could be wrong. I could be lying. But I'm gonna say Erica Badu.
Mine was Jagged Edge.
Ooh,
So long ago. Yeah.
Now, are we talking about like famous people concerts or just like concerts? Because I'm a show choir brat, so I've been in a million and one concerts, but like the first celebrity concert I went to, and I've seen a million concerts, that's why I'm asking. But Music Soul Child and Vivian Green.
ooh, that's a good one.
It
That
was
was a
amazing.
concert.
That's good. Yeah, that's a good lineup right there.
My first concert was the Maxwell concert me and Ntatu went to a couple years ago. So I never been a big concert person. I love the music. I was never like a fan of going to see him until I went to go see him. And I was like, oh yeah.
Well, I'm glad we got to experience your first concert together. That's my husband, by the way, in the blue shirt. That's my husband. So I can say that. So. Okay. Okay.
I'll start.
So, right, I see how it's going to be. That's okay. But it's okay. That was our icebreaker that has nothing to do with anything. So that's just to kind of loosen up and get going. So let's go ahead and get right into our discussion for this evening. So I'm going to ask the men the first question. Just the men. What is a man?
It's hard to define nowadays. You don't know.
I'm gonna let y'all go.
I'll give you my definition of a man. A man is someone who was created by God out of nothing. That was designed to take care of his family, designed to provide for his family as well as to be a protector, to be sometimes a counselor and sometimes a doctor in a household. He endures a lot and has, battles seen and unseen. And he basically was designed to just take upon a lot of things that may come up in the household. He was provided a helpmate to, to strategize and to help run the household and figure out things, but ultimately he was designed as the first line of defense. That's my definition of a man.
I'll let you go next. I got to think a little bit.
Okay, so I had to. It's a loaded question, right? Because like David said, it's a litany of things, and so I just started jotting down some things real quick. So what really just jumped off the page to me, like immediately, is I believe a man is he's a leader, he's a listener, he's covering for his family, he's a provider, sometimes a director, Um, man, he's just so much, right? I believe he's a comforter. You know, um, he's that one that kind of, you know, keeps it all together. You know, I know a lot of times we hear women, you know, are the ones who hold it together, and they do, they do. But I feel like a man has that role as well. Um, and so in the current world we live in, I would say that a man is someone who is able to, you know, move within his his home space, and who has the capacity to lead, and who is someone who is very well versed at like I said, a variety of things. Like, you know, like it's just not one thing that you can pigeonhole a man down to and say, oh, this is what defines a man, right? Because there's so many different variables that go into that. Um, and so, yeah, just those few things that I wrote down right off the top of my head. I'll start there, but it's, I mean, you could go so deep. That's a loaded question for real.
I'm gonna piggyback off what my brother said. Definitely a leader. I say in and out the home. Um, and I also say a man is whatever the family needs him to be at the time. So you know that could be like Q said, a plethora of different things. Um, but yeah, it's a loaded question because there's so many different levels to a man. So
Just to add a couple things, I mean, a man can be the mechanic of the house. He could be the electrician, the plumber, sometimes the therapist, the the referee,
Yeah,
the
like,
peacemaker. Uh, you know, sometimes sometimes he's a villain. I mean, it's a lot of different facets. The disciplinarian, uh, the veterinarian, like it's so many different things uh that falls under the man's you know his
I don't,
his domain.
yeah, you know, be a caregiver. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, anything, man. I think above all else, he should be a listener. And when I say a listener, I mean really hearing from God, because that's who he should be taking instruction from. And I feel like if he's taking instruction from God, then he done, that's half the battle. You know what I mean? Like this earthly stuff, we can put that together, but you know, as long as we taking instruction from God, man, we halfway there. You know, so as long as he know how to listen, tap in, and pray, and you know, truly cover his family, you know, I think he'd be okay.
So that definitely was a loaded question. I wanted to kind of walk heavy as we start because I think a lot of the questions we're going into tonight is going to really, go under this. So I thank you all for answering that question. I think obviously the responses were very eloquently spoken. And yes, there's a lot. There's a lot to a man. There's a lot to a man. There are godly definitions of a man as well as worldly definitions of a man. There is a big difference too between, or can be a big difference between those two. So I'm going to take this moment as we get ready to ask the women a question. Perfect timing. I think she's ready because we were texting. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hey
Hey,
sis,
sister.
hey sis,
Hello.
Hi, y'all.
make it.
Hey, BB, what up, though?
What
Hey,
it is?
Yeah,
the devil be trying to play games, and I had to still tell him I'm still coming online.
Amen. So we here. So we're grateful that you're here. You're right on time because the next question is for the ladies. So of course, if I ask the men, what is a man? I'm going to ask the women, what is a woman?
Well, I feel that a woman is the nurturer. Um, and in some instances, she's also the provider. A woman is I feel she's someone that covers her man, husband, whatever you want to call him. Um, Again, as they were stating, it is a loaded it's a loaded question because we're so much, taking care of the home, taking care of the children. We do it all. So I just feel that, a woman, most of all, the woman is a nurturer. And just a woman that does it all. I mean, it's a lot.
Sorry. Mm-mm.
Go ahead.
My definition of woman is a mighty morphin Power Ranger. Because she literally could
I
be,
can't.
she can morph into whatever. She can morph into whatever. Like literally, we are mama bears because we gon' ride or die for our children.
That's right.
I agree with Keisha. We are nurturers. We are load bearers, but we're also landing places, but we're also um the listeners. We're also I don't want to say the listeners. That's not nice. We are, that is loaded. I don't like it. We are,
It's hard.
we are
Everything.
I just feel like we are why I say we are Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. More so for the morphing part. I know I was like, it sounds like I'm kidding, but seriously, women, we literally morph into what is needed. Like you need me to be your chef, I'm gonna be your chef. You need me to be your, the person who takes care of you, I'm gonna be the person who takes care of you. And not saying that that's not what a man is, but 9 times out of 10, women morph into whatever is needed. That's all.
I agree.
As I was listening to all of the definitions for both, when I was listening to all the guys tell what a man was, I caught myself thinking, well, so is the woman. So is the woman. So is the woman. We do that too. But I think that's kind of the point. We are all of these things when we need to be, just in different ways. We approach things differently. Men are nurturers as well, just not always in the same way that women are. Women are providers as well, just not always in the same way that men are. So I feel like we all can run the gamut. But if I had to put one above the rest, I agree with Keisha. That top definition would be nurturer, because I feel like everything else falls under that.
All right, we cooking with grease this evening. All right.
Yeah.
I don't want to smoke. I feel like this is going to be a different conversation.
It is. That is set up to be that way. But I wanted to ask the men about the definition of a man and the women about the definition of a woman, because we do too much of trying to tell other people what they're supposed to be. And I think that's one of the issues that we have, is that we're too busy trying to put somebody in their place, per se, what we think it's supposed to look like. And I think the way you all answer the questions, yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of characteristics of both that apply to both. They definitely do. So it's being able to look at it from that perspective and say, you can be a leader and a nurturer, and both sides can listen. We can both be listeners. But it's important for a man to be able to say, this is a man, because I'm a man, I can tell you what it's like. I can even talk to you about the struggles. And then a woman can talk about her experiences, her struggles, and the things that she deals with as a woman. And then we can come together like we're doing this evening and even talk about what that looks like as we're in community with each other, as we're sharing life with each other and having different experiences with each other. So yes, loaded question, but I want you all to be thinking about, especially a lot of things you said about biblical definitions. This is going to go literally into the next question. So the next topic that we're going to be talking about is leading and submission. So we're going to talk about that. And these questions are for everyone. These questions are like some of the biggest debates I know. And so we're going to definitely do that. I'm not sure if she's having issues. So I'm just going to let her. Are you back? Okay. Just want to make sure you were good. So we are talking about leading and submission. So the first question, what does it take to lead? So if you're saying I'm leading, I'm a leader, what does it take? What does that mean?
Can I jump in?
Sure.
I think the ability to lead comes with a requirement or the ability to follow. You can't lead if you don't know how to follow, right? Because I feel like so much of the attributes that you need in learning to lead is gained through learning how to follow, right? Putting yourself under someone who gets it. I think that's why it's so important, to have great parents, right? Parents who instill these type of values in you, right? It gives you a blueprint, so to speak, to kind of glean from, to learn how to lead or to be a great leader or a good listener or being humble enough to say, I don't know, can you help me get it, right? And so I think first and foremost, having the humility to be able to follow somebody and to learn from somebody is the precursor to becoming a great leader.
If I can piggyback off of what Bro just said, not only being able to follow, you also have to be able to listen. If you cannot take correction from, let's just say, leadership or wise counsel, you're not going to be a good leader because you want to do your own thing. And I feel like a lot of times, just we as a people, sometimes we get on our high horse and feel like we grown, so we ain't got to listen to nobody. When the wisest person has always listened. That's how you get most of your wisdom, as well as that's how you keep from making mistakes that maybe your parents have made or somebody that you love or respect truly has made by listening. Not to mention, I mean, if you're unable to listen to God, then your leadership skills are going to be minuscule.
So was that directed just to the man or to everybody?
So this is-
Okay. Whenever I hear the word leadership, to me the word servant goes before it. Like, I don't shouldn't say that. Shouldn't say it that way. But I feel like the best leaders are those who serve the people that they're tasked to lead, because your success comes from them succeeding. Your growth and your joy comes from their growth and their joy. So ultimately, you win by making sure everybody else wins.
I think leading takes humility. It takes somebody to understand that just because they're the leader doesn't mean that they know it all. Like it requires you to take a step back and understand that a lot of times the people that you are leading may have some wisdom to impart just as well as you have wisdom to impart. Just because you have been placed in a role to be in the front sometimes means that you need to lead from the back, especially when it comes to servant leadership. Like, especially when it comes to shepherding. It's said that when shepherds lead their flock, they're not out ahead. Like sometimes they're out ahead to see the scout and see what's going on in front of them, but sometimes they fall back just to make sure they ain't leave nobody behind. So I think leading takes a little bit of balance. Like I know when I need to be ahead and I have to actually physically lead, and I know when I need to step back and kind of gain from whatever is going on around us so that we both can end up fine?
I think to be an effective leader, you have to have mental toughness, a loving heart, and a firm spine. So I think those are definitely three characteristics that you need to be a leader because, other people are going to come to you that may need help with something. So you'll need that mental capacity to help them through whatever they're going through. You have to be able to be a nurturer, so have a loving heart to kind of hear out, what's going on and how to lead them in the right direction or the right way. And also a firm spine when you need to say, no, we're not doing it this way. We're going to do it this way. Everybody needs direction at some point, even leaders. So
Absolutely.
So true. I think in order to lead, you have to be strong. So it does take strength. After what Lamar said, you do have to have that mental. I don't mean physical strength. You do have to be able to understand where they are and things of that sort. So I think just, in being a leader, if you don't have that strength, if you're unable to understand others, I don't think it will work.
Absolutely. Definitely all good responses. The only thing I'm going to add is discernment. You have to be able to know, where you're going. Is this a time that I need to receive that godly counsel, that wisdom from someone else, who has gone before me, my mentor, or whatever the case may be? Do I need to seek out something else? Am I going the right way? Should these people even be following me? These types of things. Discernment is real and is definitely necessary. But those are good responses because a lot of times we talk about, there's the leader, there's somebody who submits. And yes, when we're talking about gender, a lot of times, it's, the man's the leader, the woman submits. And that's just the way it is. And there could be a lot more to that. So we're going to get to a quote in a second, something that I found. But since we talked about what does it take to lead, now let's look at it from the flip side. What does it take to submit? If I'm going to say I'm going to submit to this leadership or this authority, how do I do that?
Well, I can start off with that one. It takes humility as well as it takes being vulnerable and being able to be teachable. And again, this is where listening comes in again, because again, if you can't listen, how are you going to be able to submit to somebody? Because you don't want to listen to anything that they're saying. I feel like a lot of times, and even with the younger generation, what some of the issues is we're so, I can say we sometimes can be so full of ourselves that we don't want to hear nobody else. We feel like we already got it figured out. And it's like, no, like somebody can have a different way of doing things that's going to be a little bit more beneficial. Sometimes, teamwork makes the dream work. So if you have someone in your corner who may have a little bit more experience in the area that you're dealing with, then, seeking out, some wisdom from somebody, there's nothing wrong with doing that. Being able to, being able to hear things or get a different view from somebody is always good because it sometimes can clear up your perspective. And a lot of times you need that, iron sharpens iron. So if you're talking to somebody that actually knows what they're talking about and they have wisdom, sometimes a lot of times it benefits you to listen.
Yeah. I think for me, the biggest part of submission is trust. if I can't trust you, I can't submit to you. Like if I can't trust that where you're going to lead me or take me isn't beneficial to me, you will not get not an inkling of submission from me. I had a conversation once before with one of the leadership, and I told them like, hey, I've never submitted to male authority in my life. It took for me to really trust an individual to do that. And so, yeah, like if the trust is not there, I can't do it. I mean, I can humble myself and still not trust you. You know what I mean? Like I can humble myself to listen, to seek understanding and not submit to your authority. So I think, first and foremost, I have to trust you. Secondly, I have to be able to see evidence of what it is that you're doing and where you're taking me, because I can trust you and you can still pull the wool over my eyes. And so I have to be able to have something tangible, some evidence to show me that, hey, the decision that I made to submit to you was a good one, because I can always go back and change my mind based off of what it is I'm receiving by trusting you. I mean, people get in relationships all the time and we trust and then they get cheated on, or that, you find out that, you connected yourself to somebody who doesn't have your best interest at heart. And so, we all done been there. And so, I just think, that evidence of what it is I've gotten myself into, that is paramount. So those two things, trust and the evidence, right? I need both of them like right now. I'm done. Ain't nobody got nothing to say. Okay.
I mean, that's it. That's all. That's it. Trust. Like, I feel like sometimes people feel like submission is hard, but it really isn't if there's a foundation of trust. If you show me that I can trust you, I will trust you. It is no different. It's faith and trust all at the same time. Like, I want to believe in you, but I need to see the fruit. Like, I got to see your fruit. And if your fruit ain't on the ground dirty and spoiled, then I'm trusting you a little more. So it's not going to take me long to submit as long as we have that foundation. So I just agree.
If I can be honest, like I'm having a really hard time really trusting my manager at work because I've been on this team for almost 2.5 years. We had a process set on how we do things, as well as the equipment that we use and things of that nature. So instead of him following the process, he tried to tweak the process, thinking he's making things better when it's making things worse. So at this point, I don't necessarily trust him, but I'm trusting God in this process. Can't trust my manager, so I'm gonna trust God. Simply because it's like, if you've proven to me that if something goes wrong, instead of you taking it on the chin and saying our team had an issue, then you're gonna throw me under the bus. So since you've shown me that, I'm not gonna trust you, but I'm gonna trust God.
Mm-hmm. And maybe that's just, kind of a whole example of being able to submit to God. And that's everybody. We all need to be able to submit to God's authority and trusting him. And even if we talk about, the evidence is there. Like, we know that he will never leave us nor forsake us. And we know that he is trustworthy, and everything that he says, his word will not return to him void. That's God. So that is an example, yes, of submission, perfect submission. in that sect. And even if you're a leader, I know it was said before, then they need to be submitting to that authority as well and being able to hear the voice of God. Because if you're leading me and you listening to something else, and then I can't submit to that because I don't care who you are. I can't submit to that because I need to know. I need to know who you listening to. That's why, even they say, like, when you ask people to pray for you, be careful who you ask to pray for you too. You don't know who they're praying to. So you gotta be really careful with that. But this ties in. I just saw this thing I think it was on Facebook. And I just want to know, do you all agree or disagree with this statement as we're talking about leading and submission? If a man leads properly, a woman submits naturally. Do you all agree with that?
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
Absolutely. You
gotta give me something to submit to.
Yeah. Because here's the thing, right? Like we said, it ties back to trust. If a man is leading properly and he puts a woman in a space where she is safe, and she knows that the man that she is connected to is leading her in a way that is beneficial, not just for him, but for them, naturally, she's going to submit to him. So yeah, that's the perfect statement, because women want to feel safe. They want to feel protected. They want to feel like the person that they're with has their best interest at heart. So, that's why when we get married, they say two become one, because now the man should look upon his woman as if that is him, right? And so it's like, hey, if you're doing what's best for me as if I am you, then I know you're not going to lead me astray, because I know you're not going to do yourself wrong, right? And so once they get that level of trust and understanding and feeling, it's easy. But it's a double-edged sword, because if you break that, sheesh, now you got a whole different beast to deal with, because now they've given of themselves in a way that it's hard to do. Like, it's not easy to get to that space with somebody. So when you do, and you give of yourself in that way, and you break that trust, oh man, what they say, what is it? I can't even think of the phrase, but it's something about a woman scoring like no hell,
Hell
like
has no fury.
yeah, hell has no fury like a woman scoring. That becomes real life.
And what you said is so true. Like, for somebody particularly like me, it takes a lot to open myself up to anybody, let alone somebody that I'm connecting myself to. So if I get there with you, if I get to that point and you show me that I was wrong to have done that, it's a wrap. Like, there's next to no coming back from that. But I 100% agree with this statement. A friend of mine, his wife told me something that, again, has stuck with me for years. She said that I told my husband, as long as you follow God, I will follow you. But if you lose God, you lose your wife. So as long as you're following the right direction, of course, I'm here. I'm there. I'm with you. I'm following, submitting. But the second that I feel like you're leading me astray, or you're following something that has nothing to do with the God that we follow, I gotta go.
I'll say for me, I always like to use myself as an example. We've been married or been together 15 years and married for 12. So she's seen me at all stages of me trying to become the man and the head of the household that she needed me to be. So she's seen me struggle at my point to where at one point my leading capabilities weren't where she wanted them to be, and she didn't feel safe. She seen me at the point to where I was trying to be a better father and struggling with that. And she seen me at the point now to where our marriage now runs like a well-oiled machine, because I've learned how to lead better than what I knew 10 years ago. So, and I think it's on mutual sides. The man has to know when to be able to submit also, to his wife. Because it may be some ideas that I have that her ideas may be better and vice versa. So I think you just have to feed off of each other and be that cover for each other and a partnership. Because at the end of the day, that's what a relationship is a partnership. And so if you're fighting against each other all the time and you both want to lead, it's not gonna work. Each party has to kind of sway back and forth depending on what the situation is.
And I like that you said that. I just want to interject this because I know this was something that I know my mom put in the comment section about the mutual submission, and it's actually in Ephesians 5 verses 21 to 24, and it says, "Submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. Wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands as you do to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church, his body, of which he is the Savior. Now, as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit to their husbands in everything." And submission is simply giving right, exactly. And that is how it works, because as he gave the example for us, as he was leading better, I was able to submit, but then he was still submitting to me too. So it definitely was a mutual thing. And that's one of the things that helped us to grow the most, was learning how to do that. Because if I'm out here doing my own thing, I think I'm leading myself and he leading himself. And then what are we doing? There's no partnership. There's no team. The household it's a house divided. And what is the house divided cannot stand. So essentially that's what it was. Thanks be to God, it's not that anymore. But that's why it's definitely that mutual submission. So, but anyone else want to kind of tackle that?
And I think that goes beyond just men and women. That's leaders, period. If you lead correctly, people fight less to submit. So again, it's just about what you're following. Being a leader is to be a follower, but following correctly and following the right things is what determines whether you are followed.
That's true. What they're saying, remember the Titans' attitude reflect leadership. A lot of times, if you got a team you're working with and they're not doing what you're asking them to do, or their attitudes suck, okay, well, you might want to check yourself as the leader and say, okay, what might be going on? Let me look in the mirror real quick and see what might I need to do as a leader. That's that discernment again, being able to see, what do you need to do potentially as that leader to make any necessary changes. So, okay, I figured we probably agree with that question, but now I want to get into some topics that might be a little bit more controversial, but that's okay. We love and respect each other, so that's cool. So y'all don't have to be diplomatic. I want you to really answer the questions. Okay, thank you. So men or women? So it's gonna be a question. You're gonna say men or women or this. Who has more emotional maturity or intelligence? And then who is more emotional? Those are different things. Yes. Go ahead and jump out there.
Get some water.
Well, geez, oh, peak.
Oh, the doctor trying to start stuff tonight. Here we go.
All right, I'm just gonna say this. I feel like sometimes, in certain situations, why everybody leaning like, yeah, go ahead and say it so we can spaz? Like, why everybody looking at me sideways?
Come on, brother.
This has just been okay. I'll put it to you this way. This has been my experience in certain situations. So, in certain situations, there have been times where the ladies that I've dealt with have been they allow their emotions to lead them, meaning they do certain things and don't process their emotions first. I know the way that I'm wired, I am more logical thinking. With when I'm upset, I try to work through my emotions first before I make a decision or make any moves, because moving out of pure emotion can sometimes have catastrophic results.
Is it my turn? Okay.
Sure.
I'm just gonna say this. I'm just gonna answer the second question. I can't touch that first one. Okay. I'm gonna leave that one all the way alone. Like, who has more emotional maturity and intelligence? I really think it just depends on the situation. So that's all I'm gonna say about that. I think it depends on the situation. Who is more emotional? I know for me, in my situation, me by far more emotional. I am a uber emotional guy, and yeah, I'm just gonna leave it there. God bless you.
How's that water, brother Lamar?
That's what I'm about to say. Go ahead, answer. Go ahead.
Honestly, I think it depends on whatever the situation is. Because sometimes men are more emotional, and sometimes women are more emotional. So I think it depends on what the situation is, and the person that you're dealing with, and who you are at the time. God bless you.
Oh, that's safe. That was good, bro. That was real good. Like that, bro. Like, yeah.
So diplomatic.
Right. Like, come on, man.
I think that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, brother.
I think that's true though. So right. So there's been situations where I've been more emotional than her about certain subjects, and then there's been times when she's been more emotional towards me about certain subjects. So I think it really it depends. That's another loaded question because it just really depends on, right. It may be something that she's emotional about or more passionate about than I am, but I'm not giving her the reaction that she thinks that she wants me to give her, and vice versa. So
subject matter does drive,
Yeah.
a level of emotional intensity.
If I can add something, in regards to like emotional maturity and intelligence, I feel like it depends on where you at in your life. Like, also, it also depends on how you were raised and how you were taught how to deal with your emotions. I'm going to use myself for an example. I really did not understand and learn how to process my emotions until the last 3 years. And that's, going through therapy and dealing with my life coach. Because coming up, I don't think I was taught that. And I feel like sometimes I was raised by my mom and my sister. So sometimes not having that man in the household to kind of show you how to deal with your emotions um, can be, detrimental to you. But on the flip side of that, if your father wasn't taught how to deal with his emotions, then it can be a double-edged sword because it's like it's still putting you at a disadvantage.
Ladies,
How about say we heard from the men?
It just depends on the situation at hand. Just like they said, it just depends on what's going on. I do feel in my situation, the male is more emotional than I am in certain situations. It just depends. I mean, that's it. That's all. It depends on the situation at hand.
BB, we know you emotional.
That's why I have nothing to say. What do you say?
We know you emotional. We gonna leave you out of it, kid. We know you be chilling. So we love y'all.
But the funny part is we were brought up in the same household with the same woman, and we are totally different. I am 100% a crybaby, and my sister is 100% that G. Like,
PG don't show emotion.
Like, void.
What do we do?
Facts.
No, but I will say this though, because of the stereotype, I find myself getting insulted when somebody calls me emotional. Like, because being emotionally intelligent or emotionally aware for a lot of people sounds like it completely negates your intellect or your ability to think logically, and that irks my ever-loving soul. Like, the two can coexist. Just because I'm showing emotion does not mean I'm not capable of thinking through, what's going on and what my feelings actually are and articulating those. So don't call me emotional as a way to dismiss what I'm feeling. No, you're just seeing what I'm feeling. That doesn't mean I can't think through it.
Or don't tell me I lack emotional intelligence because I've been angered by something that you said, and now feel you have to feel how I feel about what you said. Because in corporate America, that is a number one public offense. Like, oh, you should try changing your emotional intelligence. No, you should try being more humble. You should try being more honest. You should try being a person.
That yeah.
Facts.
Yeah. And that's absolutely true. I definitely want to piggyback off what Kia said, because as I was thinking about this, I'm like, well, we all have emotions. And honestly, some of us wear them on our sleeves and some of us don't. Some of us, you can tell exactly how we feel by what's on our face. And some of us, you cannot tell at all what we're really feeling. You can't, sometimes you keep that poker face is strong. Sometimes you don't know what we're thinking, what we're feeling. It doesn't mean we're not thinking anything or we're not feeling anything.
Yeah.
You might not be. Hey, Kia, we know you. Definitely Kia. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. But yes, when you're talking about emotional intelligence or maturity, is knowing how and when to express those emotions that you may be feeling, which is necessary for men and for women. I know women, we get stereotyped like we're just so emotional. I just think sometimes it's just because we just express them. And sometimes, and this, you can't make a blanket statement say never, but sometimes men don't. But like David was saying, even being taught how to do that. Like we all have to be taught, from the kids all the way up to adults. And sometimes kids, they don't even know. They have no idea how to verbal. That's male and female. They don't know how to verbalize their emotions or appropriately express their emotions. So then when they get older, what does that look like? Somebody who's probably emotional, but they just don't know how. They have to be taught. That's where that maturity and intelligence comes from. So y'all were nice answering that. Go ahead, Kia.
Real quick, the funny thing about that for me, especially when it comes to men, is that the way y'all express y'all, stereotypically, the way y'all express y'all emotion doesn't look the same as how we express it. We might express sadness as tears. Y'all might express it as punching a hole in the wall. It's just two different things. But the emotions are still there. We're still aware of them. We're still expressing them. We just don't always describe and see them the same way.
Yeah.
Very true.
Mm-hmm. Definitely true. And it's good to be able to understand that you may not see it the same way. That's how we can be better, again, in community with each other, when we try to understand each other better and those perspectives. So y'all still being real nice. But okay, that's all right. We got another question. Let's see how nice y'all are this time. So again, men or women?
Okay.
I am. Who uses more logic in decision making?
I'm gonna take this one flat out. Women. I think women do. Mainly from the perspective of women, I think tend to think more in terms of the household, right? And so I think they tend to try to use more logic in that way. I try to be logical in my decision making. And then again, it really depends on the situation. All of these questions are situationally based, right? Like it just really depends on the situation you're making a decision about, right? Because again, emotions come into play, and then all logic goes out the window sometimes. So yeah, let me reframe. Like it just really depends. Like it really depends. Like what we talking about, man. Like if it's about my kids, yeah, man, yeah. Yeah, like my decision making may be a little faulty. I wouldn't say maybe, it will be. Um, because I have so much emotion behind my kids. Yeah. So yeah, it just depends. It just depends. I'm gonna go back to that. It just depends on the situation.
Yeah, I think it's at. Okay, you gotta go.
Yeah.
Uh,
Ntatu, you're not getting what you're looking for tonight, huh?
right, right. I don't know. My love for my loved ones, and my daughter, my bonus babies, like I'm gonna have to probably call somebody to have them think logically for me, because I'm probably gonna be ready to burn the whole neighborhood down over my family members. Like I'm just not gonna even hold you on that one. So, yeah, like bro said, it just depends because in certain situations, emotional intelligence is out the window. Like I'm just gonna be completely open and honest about that. About my daughter, I might turn into a psycho. Yep, I'm not gonna even hold you. Yeah, I'm flipping over cars. I'm doing all that. Over my sister, my niece. Yeah, it's gonna get pretty ugly. Um, you just that's one of those things where you got to tap into your tribe and try to have somebody talk some logical sense into you before you do something catastrophic. Yeah.
That's exactly where my mind went. Like initially, emotion, especially when it comes to people I care about, because I don't play about the people I love. I just do not. Initially, my first response is going to be an emotional one, but my first action will probably be the logical one. Like my emotions will kind of fuel how I feel and fuel what I think my options are, because some of those options shouldn't be on the table, but it might fuel what some of my options are. But then that logic kicks in and says, okay, what makes the most sense for the most good for the people that you truly care about? Even though over here I might want to burn a city down. Well, if I do that, then my babies will have to see me in orange jumpsuits behind bars. That's not cool. So I think internally, my first reaction is emotional. Externally, my reaction is logical.
I
I
think
think
it's
it's.
also,
Sorry, go ahead, more.
you want to go ahead. You want me to go? I go. But I think so. Even with
Y'all just.
I just need a second.
Leave it to you. Leave it to him.
uh,
Okay, I'm gonna go and finish, dude. What was the question? Okay, sorry.
It's on the screen. It's on the screen.
you
It's
gonna go?
situational. It's situational for me at least, because when I'm at work, I feel like I'm all logic until you push me to emotion. Like I'm gonna give you the whole breakdown of everything until I'm like, for real? Okay. Now I'm switching. But I'm the opposite in my personal life, because I'm like, you get raw me first. You get all this emotion first. And then, I do this a lot. And then I have to step back and be like, now, was that smart? Was that wise? Could we have done this better? What would have been the better choice? Then add on the factor of when I'm, I guess, talking with my husband. I feel like it's a battle to be more logical. Like, who thought about this better? Who can, like, we, okay, anyway, I'm getting back. So if you ask me, women are more logical.
Oh, someone actually chose a side. Thanks, BB.
Yeah, if you ask me, women are are more like, because we always talking them off ledges and stuff. Like, hey, don't come get your life, boo. Let's not stop fighting me. I love you.
Can I ask a question to expound on that though? Do you feel like women being more logical is a response to constantly being told that we're emotional? And vice versa?
Possibly, or it just could possibly be that we were always logical and people expect us to be emotional, so they always say that. Like they don't even give you a chance to show your logic, the logistics. They just expect you to be like, you hurt my feelings. Like, no, you hurt my feelings, but I'm gonna tell you why you hurt my feelings and how not to do it again. Especially if you want to be with me.
I feel like sometimes even with the ladies, I think initially they have to show their emotions first so they can kind of process things to be able to logically explain why they feel the way that they feel. That's kind of what I've learned at this point.
IQ, man, you got
Say it one more time, because bruh, like that was heavy. Say it one more time. Thank you.
I mean, yeah, like they have to get their emotions out to actually process through why they feel the way that they feel. That way they can explain it to us. It's like, oh, okay.
Oh, I caught myself getting offended again. Like, don't tell me I gotta process my emotions first before
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
I got
In all situations, but
after see again, I mean, initial response, emotional, outward response, logical. There's some truth to that. Like I know I have to get through the muck and the mire of how I'm feeling to articulate myself clearly so somebody else can understand it. There's some truth to that, as much as I don't want to admit it. It's there. But I don't think that's just us. I think that's anybody, because anybody who's over emotional, they can't filter the logic through that. People struggle with that if that's where their head is. And I say people, not just women.
Okay, can I say something real quick?
No.
So
Love you.
So I kind of see, right? So I feel like this. Most men, we are not raised to be emotional. We just not. We told as kids, like, hey, don't be out here crying.
cut that
Don't
out.
be out here whining. Don't be doing this. Don't be doing that. And we're stripped of our emotions, right?
Mhm.
Whereas women are granted the right to feel. You know what I'm saying? And so when we get older, women are more emotionally intelligent initially than men. I will grant y'all that. Like y'all are. Because y'all have already learned how to process and work through those things, right? Whereas men, we're told not to. We're told to, hey, just man up. Like, figure it out. But all that crying, all of those emotional pieces, we don't need that. But we do need to just learn how to figure things out, right? Whereas women, like I said, y'all granted that access and that right and that privilege to be able to work in those spaces, work through those emotions. And yeah, there you go. So when we get to this space of men and women having these emotional outbursts or these emotional spaces or spasms, right? Most men, we're not gonna give you that. We just gonna shut down because, like, honestly, we just don't know how to properly convey or express our feelings in the moment. We have to take a step back and say, you know what? Even after we done messed up and ran our mouths, because we gonna say what we gonna say. That's where we mess up. Because we gonna talk. We gonna say our 1-2. Because you ain't about to make us feel like we less than a man. You know, we gotta beat our chest, so to speak, right? So we gonna say what we got to say, then we back up. Whereas women, y'all done already thought it through 1 through 10 before y'all speak most of the time, unless it's just something that has y'all so triggered that y'all just gonna jump out of turn quickly. But even still, when y'all jump out of turn, y'all words cut so heavy, right? Because y'all have kind of already calculated how you want to say what it is you gonna say. Whereas men, we don't tend to operate that way because we weren't raised that way. We weren't raised to work through those things beforehand. And so that's why we always come back later. And hindsight be 2020. That's why when a man cheat on a woman, he always come back and be like, baby, I see it now. But by the time he see it, y'all gone. But that's really the truth. Like we do see it. Like, hey, she was good. Like she was a good woman. But I saw it, 10 weeks too late, or 10 months too late, or a year and a half too late. Like it's like, well, I just got to deal with the consequences now, right? And so, I mean, man, like it's just what it is. Sometimes we sorry.
That was very logical.
Thank you. I had to think about it. You see, it took me a while. I had to think about it.
We're apologizing for all men. We're sorry.
I'm gonna piggyback off what Q said. So, as men, we've been told growing up to protect, provide, and that's it. Our emotions have never counted. That you can go back from the beginning of time until now. Men's emotions have never been counted into the equation because at one point we were, like Q said, we were never taught that. We were taught to provide, protect, and take care of your family. That's it. So, like he said, when it comes to our emotions, it takes a minute to process. That's why I use myself as an example. I think with her being a therapist has helped a little bit more because she kind of knew how to deal with me at one point, but then there was another point where she didn't, where she'd be like, all right, we have an issue. She's like, well, I want to talk about it now. No, I don't want to talk about it now. Like, just give me a minute. Now we're gonna solve it now. No, that's not how. No, I'm not. Just give me a minute, or it's gonna escalate. Well, I don't understand why. You ain't gotta understand. Just give me, and then that's where the disconnect come in at because neither one of us is listening to each other. If I'm telling you I need a minute, it's because I'm not emotionally ready. Sorry, someone's flying around.
I'm like, you not emotionally ready to slap somebody?
Sorry, but it takes a minute for a man to say, "Hey, can I come talk?" And then that becomes a part of us having to become vulnerable too. We weren't taught that to be vulnerable to people, so it takes a minute for us to be like, "Okay, now I can really come and open up to you, and not feel like you're gonna throw that in my face when an argument comes up." Well, that's why you X, Y, Z. Like, well, dang, I told you that in confidence. Like, you gonna use that against me now? Okay, well, now I gotta shut all the way back down emotionally and restart because you're using it as a weapon now. And now I have to go back and be like, all right, now I gotta start all over. We gotta go through this process again. And it's like it's gonna be a continual circle until both parties learn how to talk to each other and comprehend what each other is saying.
So one kind of piggyback off of what Lamar and Q said. Sorry about that. I need to get this before I forget it. So I feel like the phrase "man up" is toxic. I feel like it's disrespectful as well as it's very invalidating because if you tell somebody to man up, you're basically telling them you don't give a flying squirrel about their feelings. And somebody tell me that, then we probably gonna have a whole problem. Period. Because it's like, how dare you? Like, don't. If you're not a man, or if you haven't walked in my shoes, you cannot dare tell me how to be a man. And I feel like "man up" was just a phrase just thrown out there. Like, no, you don't understand what men go through on a daily basis, so you can't say "man up." Going back to what bro said about sometimes needing a minute. Like I've been in a situation where I've asked for a moment or wanted to have that time to process what I was feeling and get through it to actually be able to have a productive conversation. And then I kept getting picked with. So, and I'm one of those type of people. I'm quiet. Once I shut down and I get quiet and I tell you to leave me alone and you keep bothering me, then I'm a ticking time bomb. And after that point, then it's bad. It gets real ugly. Because I feel like, okay, so I'm telling you I need some space and I'm putting up a boundary, and uh now you are invalidating what I'm telling you. I done put this boundary up, now you're trying to go around the boundary. Okay, well now I'm about to give you what you're looking for. So if I say some stuff or if I snap out at you, then I'm the problem at this point. When I've told you or warned you numerous times, like right now is probably not a good time for us to have this conversation, or this is not the time or the place to have this conversation, and my warnings get ignored. Okay, well, all right, game time. Let's go ahead and get this out the way. Now you're crying and you're looking at me crazy, and it's like I just told you, like now was not a good time for us to have this conversation. So.
You take yourself off mute.
Just making sure. So leading back or going back to the point, like y'all were raised to kind of push down y'all feelings and not really have those conversations. So y'all development in that area became delayed. How do y'all change that narrative though? Because what I've noticed is if you are taking accountability for that, if you're saying that this is the case, how come, and this ain't shots fired at y'all, this is legit a question. How come y'all are not trying to then move that way with y'all sons? Because what I've noticed, what I realize is a lot of men still to this day, knowing that that's how they were raised, they impart the same thing that they were raised with onto their kids. And so with my sons, I know my sons are emotional. And I can be very stern with them, like, suck it up, like, bruh, kill it, wipe them tears. We ain't doing that. Like, you a dude, don't be soft out here. People gonna start picking on you. And then I realized if I'm not willing to validate their feelings, who's gonna do it?
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. I think there is a very fine line between disciplining and invalidating. You know what I mean? Like you can discipline your kids and really instill toughness and structure and all those things that you want in a man or that you want your boys to have without invalidating their feelings, right? Like you want to hear out your kids. Like, I talk to my boys, and it's something that I had to learn. Like, let me start there. Because with my oldest, he got it the worst. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I will say that. Like, like my thing with him was like, nah, you got to be this, you got to be that, you got to do this. And a lot of times I never stopped to listen, right? And it wasn't until he got a little older and I had my youngest son that I really was able to like kind of like take a step back and be like, okay, like, yeah, I'm trying to instill all of these different characteristics and into my kids, but am I really hearing what they have to say on the back end of it, right? And so now, I try to be more cognizant of, all right, this is what I'm trying to get you to understand, right? Because I feel like you can teach these things without being so hard, right? Because I think most men, like, because that's all we've been drilled into us, it's natural for us to be like with our man kids, right? And so for me, it's like, all right, look, this is what I need from you. You know what I mean? With my oldest, it's very much a conversation now. Like where it's like, hey, bro, I'm not about to yell or try to scream this into you, but I will talk to you in a manner where you understand that I'm your daddy and I ain't playing with you. But I'm gonna teach you at the same time, you know? And so he gets it, like, all right, my daddy wasn't playing, like he was real serious about this, but I get what he was trying to tell me, right? And so I take that same approach with my youngest, where he's a little younger, but it's still like, all right, look, daddy don't like that, or daddy doesn't want you to do that, and here's why. You know what I mean? And still, give him the space to say, okay, well, he don't like certain things, and that's cool. But even in that, still try to shape and mold in a way that allows him to be him and still learn at the same time, right? So I'm not dehumanizing him. I'm not devaluing his feelings or his emotions, but I'm also being that director, that guider, that leader as his father to say, hey, man, let's try to move in this space, or let's try to think of things in this way, or this is the proper way, right? Because at 7 years old, he's still learning the proper way to do things, right? So here's the proper way for you to do this. And it's a repetitious thing, right? Because he's going to make that mistake over and over again until he finally develops that habit of doing it the right way. And so, it's just continuing to instill in them the proper way without dehumanizing or taking away from how they feel about it. Because it's an adjustment on your part too, because they're teaching you how you have to parent them. You know what I'm saying? Like it just can't. I can't parent my baby the same way I parent my oldest. Like because they're two different people. But there's certain principles that just will always remain the same. So that's what I would say to that.
I know myself, I'm trying to break that with my 4-year-old. And sometimes she tells me that she doesn't like certain things, or like when I do certain things, and I have to tell her, like, I get that you may not like it. You may not like having to go to bed. I understand that. However, or she'll tell me, stop telling me that. No, I'm your daddy. I'm going to tell you what I want you to do, and you're going to do it. You may not like it, and you can feel however you want to. But understand that we're going to have a whole problem if what I'm telling you is not done. I don't love you any less, but what I'm telling you is, or just whatever I'm telling you, I'm not telling you something that's going to harm you or hurt you. I'm telling you stuff that's going to keep you safe. So you cannot like it. You can have whatever feelings that you feel about it. That is perfectly okay. However, it's going to get done. Period. No discussion. There's not going to be a dissertation about it. You can cry if you want to, but you're still doing it. Period.
Yeah. And that's just the bottom line. Like we have a very awesome responsibility as parents, whether we're parenting male children or female children or a combination of both. It's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge. And I'm not gonna say one's harder than the other because we got both. We got two of both actually. So it's a challenge, but it is our responsibility, and it's hard to parent in a way you haven't been parented. So if you're trying to teach your children something that you didn't learn, whether it's emotional maturity, emotional intelligence, or to think logically, before you make decisions, before you speak, to even think before you speak, even things like that. If you weren't taught that, it's very, very hard to parent from that position of a lack of experience. It's easier to parent from what you know. And the problem is that a lot of us know and have learned a lot of things that's not good. So we shouldn't continue that. So because we y'all being real still nice, that's okay. That's okay. Y'all being real nice. But because we time is flying. And so we're gonna just do one more question for everyone. And I want the men to answer the first part, women to answer the second part. This was a very good conversation. But I know it's getting late. So as this actually ties into the last question. So men, what's something you believe boys today need to understand about manhood women? What's something you believe girls today need to understand about womanhood?
I'll take this one really quickly. Men need to understand about manhood that being a man is not sleeping with every female that they can. That's first and foremost. Secondly, it's not about having the most expensive car. It's not about having all the money or the most expensive shoes or jeans. It's about being a man is about having integrity. It's about having principles and morals, and and being a stand-up guy, as well as if you create a life, you taking care of that life. Um, it's about respecting your parents and respecting elders and just being a good human being. Like I feel like the younger generation is kind of lost a little bit because they don't really have anybody giving them uh sound and structure. They're not getting a lot of structure or not a lot of sound advice. And I feel like a lot of men are out here lost. Young men are out here lost. So I feel like just a horrible cycle of things that are going on right now. So that's
I'll jump in for the women. You are enough. Your identity is not tied to anybody or anything other than the God that created you. You are enough. Period. Full stop. Whether you grow up to get married, have a family, or get the degree and the career, or stay single and travel the world, or you're still finding your voice. You are enough. That's it.
Amen. You better preach, girl. All right.
Somebody told me.
For me, ooh, I think what I would tell young boys right now is your manhood is not defined by how many lives you could take out, but it's defined by how many lives you can actually lift up. I think so often now, man, we are defined by guns, sex, violence. These are the things that define us as men. We've lost character by trying to be characters. We have given away our kingship to be clowns. And somebody has to be better than status quo. Like, everybody is trying to be what they see on TV, not realizing that most of that, 99% of that, is fictitious. It's not real life. And, we destroy each other so much because of what we don't know. And, people perish for lack of knowledge. And so we have to get away from the stereotypes of what a man is, because we really esteem ourselves by trying to achieve a stereotype as opposed to really being who we are called to be and really living in purpose, on purpose, right? I say that a lot. Living in purpose, on purpose. And so it's like, if I had anything to say to these young boys, it's, man, you can be more. than what you see. You know, don't be defined by what you see. Find the more. Find the more. Don't feel as if all you have is what's being presented to you. You know, it's more to life than beating on your chest and carrying around a gun and smoking weed and having sex with 1,000 women. It don't get you nowhere. And so, you know, you have to have a desire to have more than what's being presented, because right now they ain't giving the images that we see for both men and women are terrible. You know, the news, all they do is tell you about who's dying or who's scheming on who or what president done stole what files, and never tell you anything good, right? And so, like, these kids are being, their minds are being tainted so early that, you know, it's really up to parents and, you know, the communities and you know, that village that you surround yourself with to really foster a mindset of growth and achievement within your kids early, so that they know that what's being presented to them is really minuscule in the grand scheme of things. That's my 2 cents.
I'm gonna be quick because I know we short on time when the ladies have to go. I'll say they need to know that you don't have to have everything figured out by the age of 21. It's okay to cry, and it's okay to show your emotions. You on mute? Can't hear you.
Oh no, I was just singing H Town. Emotions make you cry sometimes.
Mute that.
He gonna start singing in a minute. Sorry.
I mean, Kia killed it for me. So, like, womanhood has nothing to do with your body parts. I know that's a huge thing right now where all the enhancements are being made available, whether it's here or abroad, but that does not make you a woman. Now, how you carry yourself, how you are, how you respect yourself, and how you treat others to respect you makes you a woman. And that's it.
God bless you, child.
Keisha, you there?
He's like, nah, player.
He said it.
I ain't got nothing to say.
Man,
She gonna say something?
she was froze. I'm
That's
like,
what I did too. That's what I was like, Keisha.
I was just listening. But, you know, I agree with Kia and BB. Man, Kia really, she really said it all, you know, as far as the young girls nowadays. You are enough. That's it. They killed it right there.
Yeah, y'all super deep, super dope. I have to say that. That's probably why y'all can't even argue for real, because it always just comes back. But yeah, that's cool. That's okay. That's okay. We ain't really having real arguments. That's okay. But absolutely, and I thought that was very important. And of course, I knew we weren't going to get to all the questions, but I think it was very important to bring it back to that, because again, like we said, the bottom line is that, you know, we're all parents on here anyway, but you know, even if you don't have a biological child, like there's someone watching you, there's always someone coming up after you. And we have a great responsibility, and it's a privilege really to even be entrusted with these little people to, raise. And it's tough. It's tough, whether we're talking about, what it is to be a man, what it is to be a woman, emotional intelligence, all of these things, using logic. When it comes to manhood and womanhood, it's not an easy thing. It's definitely not an easy task, but I appreciate you all just being able to have this dialogue respectfully, a little bit too nice if you ask me, but that's okay. That's okay. We still say that, but I definitely appreciate you all, and I'm glad that we had this opportunity to have these couple of discussions, even though there's a lot we didn't get to. So the hope and the prayer was that over the course of these last couple of weeks, we call it battle of the sexes. I don't think it was really so much of a battle, but it's just kind of getting that male and female perspective on things and being able to hear, like I said before, earlier when we first started, hearing both sides and making sense of both. But I think one thing we can definitely take away is that whether we're talking about manhood or womanhood, it's hard. It's hard. And there's a lot to it. But they say, when you know better, when it was the late, great Maya Angelou said, when you know better, you do better. So because we know better, and it's clear that y'all know better because the words of wisdom that you all were speaking tonight prove that we know better. So we got to do better. We definitely have to do better. And raising up this next generation, there's a lot of distractions that they have. And sometimes it's hard to be louder than the distractions that come around. But even in our leading and submitting to the voice of God, that helps us to be able to lead this generation. Because I do believe that God is raising up a generation of leaders that will submit to him first. So there's a lot of work to be done, but I appreciate each and every one of you. I agree, Mom, because I was just like, they supposed to be fighting by now, but they wasn't. I'm like, that's okay. That's okay. But I do appreciate you all. Like I said, I say this privately, I say it publicly as well. This is my family, and I appreciate you all for your time. And I appreciate everyone who has tuned in tonight. Like I said, if you missed last week, go back and watch it. They were probably even nicer last week than they were this week. But, go back and watch it because it was still very, very good content. So God bless y'all. God bless y'all. So got to put this out there before we sign off for tonight. Wednesdays, we have our Wednesday check-in. It's still August, so our summer months, summer's dwindling down. These babies going back to school. So we're going to be changing our schedule again, but we still have our Wednesday check-in every Wednesday at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, same platforms, Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram. So yeah, I'm sorry. I can't. But that's what it says, X, formerly known as Twitter. So please join us on Wednesdays as we check in with each other. As we are remaining accountable to one another in our mental health journeys, but also just our day-to-day living. And mark your calendars now. Our next episode of Hashtag from a Christian, Hashtag from a Therapist with Dr. Ntatu, episode 15, will be on Sunday, September the 3rd at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is our normal schedule, is the first Sunday of every month, but this month we had two to kind of do part 1 and 2 and make up for last month as well. So I want you all to mark your calendars for that, and please plan to be in attendance, and we will have a flyer soon to share what the topic for September will be. So again, thank you all, our guests, for these last couple of weeks have been amazing. Y'all are incredible, incredibly goofy too. So yes, but our tag I can't even look at y'all, for Purpose Journey Counseling is to be loving, to be kind, be compassionate, and be intentional towards others as well as towards yourselves. We pray that you have a phenomenal week. We pray for any babies going back to school this week, teachers, administrators, bus drivers, anybody who's caring for children, parents, grandparents, foster parents, adoptive parents. We're praying for all of you over the course of these weeks that our babies are going back to school. We're praying for a successful school year for all. And that God will definitely show up and show out in our babies' lives. So be it the Lord's will, we will see you Wednesday at 7 a.m. for our Wednesday check-in. Be blessed. Blessings and love to each and every one of you. Have a great night.